What's up? What's up? All right, I seem to be getting it going here, the stream. Yes, it does appear that I am online. Excellent, excellent. I had to do things a little bit differently. I'm streaming on YouTube again. Going to try and do this more often with the comic development and everything. I was doing it for a little bit, but I just got kind of behind and got a little busy with other stuff. But I'm going to try and set up some kind of schedule that I can stream and go from there. But yeah, so I'm just gonna go through this and have, you know, some kind of step-by-step thing. I'm gonna go through different topics and talk about some things that have been going on. So there's quite a bit to talk about, and oh, there goes my. There we go. There's quite a bit of the things to talk about that's happened recently in the comic space, and also just in my space. You know, what have I been up to as far as comics goes? What's going on in life? And obviously you see this on the screen right now, so I'm not going to waste any time. I'm going to get right into it. Thank you guys so much so far, those who have donated. We really appreciate it, and it's been a blessing for all of us to see. We're over $3,000 now, and that's pretty good. The goal, I will admit, the goal was a mistake. I looked up average cancer treatment price, and it says it's $150,000. I didn't realize I didn't factor in, you know, insurance covering that and everything. So it probably will not cost us. Hopefully, won't cost us $150,000. But you know, either way, every dollar donated is immensely appreciated. And I had a video released earlier. I believe yesterday, that was talking about this, and obviously I was very emotional that day. That was the day that we found out, and I appreciate all the support so far. You guys have been very, very, you've been a great blessing to us, to our entire family, and I greatly appreciate you. I cannot say that enough. I just really appreciate all the support you guys have been saying, and not just this, but like people who know me and my brother, you know, just calling and making sure we're okay, and just giving us people to talk to. I mean, I've talked with people I haven't talked to since high school, that just still might not have been like in immediate contact with me, you know, on a daily basis, but they still thought about me, they still care about me, you know, that kind of thing. And I don't know, I guess I've just sort of forgotten, just, I don't know, I just forgot like how, despite how things are in the world, there is still a lot of good. There is still a lot of good, and I've been shown that by a lot of people in the past 4 days. So it's Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and today, which is I really appreciate it. You guys are amazing. And if you want to know, you know, if you want to know more updates, we're gonna give you more updates. We're gonna find out more information Monday. As of me, you know, streaming this, we're gonna find out more Monday. Next time I stream, I will give a little bit of an update as to what we're looking at, and go from there. And either way, whether it's a stream or it's a message, a post on social media or something, you can follow me. My link tree, let me go ahead and actually paste that in here as well. Can I see the chat? Can I look at the chat? Thank you. For some reason it wasn't letting me do that. I'm gonna post all my socials here in the chat so you guys can keep aware of what's going on. There we go. So yeah, that's what I'm looking at there. But besides that, the link will be in the description for this video whenever it goes live. One more time, thank you guys so much. It really means a lot to us. God bless every one of you for doing this. It means it's helping us get through this. But yeah. Alright, so I'm going to be moving into the next topic, which will be Little Miss Steel. I am streaming this, but I'm also recording this into segments, so if you hear me pause for a little bit, that's most likely why, is because I'm hitting stop record or start record. I'm just doing this live so I can get the interaction with you guys. If I don't answer immediately in the chat, it's because I am either the chat is slow, or I'm focusing on what I'm talking about for the sake of recording a video. So I figured I'd do it like this because this is a more fun way of doing it. You guys get to see the behind the scenes, the live takes. All the goofs are included, so you guys get to experience that a little bit. Let me actually change my window. I have it full screen for this tab, but the way I've got my recording set up, you can't really see it. You can't really see everything, so I figured it'd be just better to do it like this. I don't think I'm wrong by saying that. I think this is just better. Anyway, yeah, so the next topic is going to be Little Miss Steel. I'm going to be showing you a little sneak peek at what's going on, and I'm going to be doing this through the Discord. So you might have already seen this if you're in the Discord. If not, you get to have a first-hand guide from yours truly. We start the recording. Let me let me pause the music real quick. Let me look at that video, see how the audio sounds. Because if the music is too loud, I don't want to record another video with the same volume of music. Okay, this is it here. Thank you guys so much so far, those who have donated. We really appreciate it. Okay, yeah, the music is a tad loud. I've turned it down. All right. Now we are ready to go. All right, hit and record now. Hey, what's up, YouTube? This is EV Variety, and here is another look at Little Miss Steel, the comic adaptation. Now, I have been talking about Little Miss Steel for a little bit now, since the beginning of this year, and this whole time I've been talking about the novel version, novel Little Miss Steel, which you can read on Tapas. Read all this completely for free. The first book is going to be completed pretty soon. We're actually at the last 2 episodes, what I'll call it. You can read all of this here. I do plan on uploading it potentially, like maybe not uploading it, but printing it as a full-on like physical novel. If you're interested in that, if I see enough interest in it, then I'll do that. But yeah, Little Miss Steel, the novelization is here for you to enjoy. In 2 weeks it will be complete, and I'm not going to be taking this down. This is the novelization. The comic adaptation is what I'm going to be showing you today. Now that's going to have quite a bit of differences in this. Like, there are some things where, you know, I've sort of, while adapting it to a comic, it's very different, right? You can't be as wordy as you can in a novel, in the comic, because you have to realize that you're going to have to draw each scene, maybe cut the dialogue, cut the fat from the dialogue, and make it more matter of fact, while not being too quick. That's the challenge of it, is trying to cut unnecessary things while not making it feel boom, bam, boom, bam. You know, we're doing this, we're never having time to breathe. You know, I have to have some shots where there's no dialogue at all. Otherwise, it feels like there's just constant talking. It has to be some room to breathe whenever you're reading a comic like that. So it's been fun to do that. It's really interesting to adapt, to actually fully adapt a novel to a full comic. Now the plan right now is to just do the pilot, which would be the prologue and death metal part 1, 2, and 3. These are basically going to be one graphic novel, and depending on the success of this is going to determine whether or not I do any more of this. Mainly the goal with what I'm attempting to do, is to have a physical product, a physical, graphic novel comic to send to publishers, try and get this story picked up. And maybe from there I can get an artist who can do this full time and could do it better than I can. And I have an artist doing that, I'm doing the writing, and the publishing company can handle the rest of the stuff that I can't handle, because I don't have the means to, such as printing it out, mass copies, doing all the marketing. So I can do the marketing. I just can't do all the warehouse work because I don't have a warehouse. So yeah, so that is the goal with this, is to make a physical presentation to send to people. I'll probably end up making a personal website digital version just so I can send that to people as well if they don't care for the physical one. I just think having something physical looks more professional. The fact that I went out of my way to make this a tangible thing is, I think, going to be more eye-catching to publishers and talent searchers than just making it digital. Not knocking digital at all. If you make digital comics, I've been doing it for the past 4 years. Nothing against that at all. But I do think it looks a bit more official by having a physical thing in your hands. But I'm going to take you through sort of the process of how this is coming along, and how it looks. How does the comic actually look, and what's a timeline possibly look at. I'm going to get to all that as we go through this. So let's go ahead and start with, most importantly, the internals of the comic. Now, I will do another cover. And maybe I'll have someone else do the cover art to try and sort of match my style, but add a bit more of their flair to it. Like, I think I would like to do like different covers depending on, if there's a demand for 3 covers. Maybe I can do a cover myself and then have 2 other artists do covers. It's just sort of depends on the demand. It's all going to depend on that. But for the moment, let's go ahead and look at the pages. So I'm going to take you through all these like so with Discord, and I can actually, for this part, I can zoom in, capture. There we go. That should be good right there. So this is how the series is going to look. I'm using official size by inches of how the pages are looking. So I'm matching that up. I'm trying to go ahead and knock that out. So it starts with Miss Steele, which you might be thinking, wait a minute, this is Little Miss Steele. Well, the point of that is because this is the prologue. This is where you're getting those newspapers, and you're seeing all the sort of setup for the lore beforehand. What you can expect from the world of that Little Miss Steele takes place in, and you'll find that it's very similar to our own world. It references life, presidents, and countries, and even the state of Arizona, Grand Canyon. There's a lot of landmarks and stuff like that are referenced that are in the real world. So this is going to be a fictional project set in a familiar setting in real life. And these newspaper clippings, I'm not going to read them all here, but you can read these for yourself, and you can see all the background lore and everything that is necessary to establish the backstory of Miss Steele, Night Vision, the Mighty Five, and and just a few other characters as well in here. Also, if you can't read it, don't it's not your eyes. Discord has terrible quality when it comes to previewing the images. If I go to open in browser, it'll pull it up, and it's far easier to read in this than it is on Discord. But yeah, so that's the newspapers. It basically tells the story of Miss Steel crashing to the Grand Canyon and being met by the military and sort of defending herself and fighting back. Then you've got her appearing a year later to start fighting crime, and the next thing you see is her a year after that being added to the Mighty Five, which is this superhero group, and then a year after that she is pregnant. So it's kind of like, who could the father be? Well, we can kind of assume. Anyway, and you don't have to assume very long because the story confirms it. So then it goes to this page, which is Little Miss Steel, and if you notice, the logo is slightly different because the T now has this this large block in the middle of it, which it still looks like a T, but now it also looks like a V. That's because the main character's nickname is V, short for Veronica. So I feel like this logo works pretty well, Little Miss Steel, and then you got the two. This becomes a V and a T at the same time, so it works. Yeah, and honestly, like, this TV could just be the logo itself. I think that's a bit too simple, but that, I mean, there's definitely I think there's potential recognizability there for that, and then, you know, the rest of it I think is good. I don't think I need to, you know, simplize it. What is it? Simplification? I don't need to make it overly simple. Oh, well, I can't say that word. Okay. Anyway, the first page of my artwork, the rest of the, I forgot to mention that the prologue artwork, if you haven't heard already me saying it before, is fantastic artwork from Sixus. You can find him on DeviantArt. I commissioned him to do this artwork, and he did a phenomenal job with all four of them. They all look really good. Very classic 80s looking style comic book drawings for a time period set in the 80s is the goal with this. It's a sort of, since this takes place in the 80s, to have an 80s comic book style, and then we fast forward to 2002, and the style looks more like a 2000s cartoon, which is my specialty. So yeah, so we get a little bit of a background establishing shot of a very flat, you know, sort of dry land, some sort of town in the background. You got some big mountain rocks in the background jutting out of the ground, and we also see a road. There is at least one hill in this city, a very fat hill, which I will mention in a little bit. And then we go to the same shot, but now there's a bus climbing over the hill. You can see smoke from the bus moving. There's also a little snake underneath the rock. I decided to add that just to add a little environment stuff. One criticism I got from Demonico was that there was never mentions of actual animals in the environments. And that is true. I did very little environmental details as far as animal or just background people. I didn't do a whole lot of that in Demonico, so I decided to add some more animals here and there. Like, you'll see some birds and some other shots and stuff like that. But yeah, so the bus, look at that, it's hitting a pothole in the road, and then Amy goes flying inside the bus. In fact, she bounces so far up that she breaks out of the frame and hits her head on the ceiling of the bus. This shot immediately shows you that, you know, I'm trying to go for a bit of a sort of funny, exaggerated style here, where sometimes I can make the faces just look very derpy, just very simple, just a dot and a line, and just make it look super derpy. The eyes like this as well, sort of anime influenced. Even the hand just becomes a ball with some lines in it. You know, stuff like that. I'm not afraid to stretch the art style and make it look a little goofy in some frames to add to the humor of it. Then you get this one. Ow, how you not go flying V? You're tiny Amy. You need to hold on to the bar below the seat. I'm not going to read the rest of it, but you can see, you know, the text lines. You can tell who is talking to who, and I'm tempted on putting a light color to the text, like when Amy talks, like maybe it'll be a very faint pink to the boxes. But the only problem with that is when you're printing, white is basically no color at all. Black is a ton of color, but a ton of ink that you're using. So if I add color to the boxes, that's going to be more ink that's going to be going to make it expensive. I'm still contemplating that. But yeah, so similar shot here. They're basically the same, just different, slightly different facial expression here. Some different words being spoken. But yeah, you can see, like, you know, the differences in the two characters. They're very identifiable which one they are, Amy and V, which their designs have been around forever. You've been able to check that out on the characters page. You can read all about the characters here as well. Every single character is on here, so you can read to your heart's content all about these characters from the novelization, and they are essentially the same here. So yeah, so this is after she gets her head bumped. B's saying that she's got a really good grip, and right here, this scene is important because this is her hand reaching onto the bar below the seat and showing that she's using her steel powers to hold on very tightly so she doesn't go flying. She makes a little bit of a self jab, calling herself fat, and then Amy's trying to reinforce her with positive affirmations. And suddenly the bus slams on brakes, and and you got the skrrr. You've also got some pieces of paper down here that I just decided to throw, some gum, just to make the bus seem dirty. Something I really wanted to do with this setting is to get the idea that this town is sort of a dump, and you know, the bus is all messy. There's a bunch of gum on the back of the seat. When Amy's flying forward and hitting the back of the seat in front of her, her face flattens to a lollipop to look like a lollipop, and she shakes it out, returns to normal, and the gum on her cheek goes flying. Just little things like that. I'm just trying to get the idea that I'm exaggerating this, and the idea of me drawing the lollipop here was I was concerned that maybe people wouldn't realize that her head is flat because the way I'm drawing it is flat at an angle. So I wanted to get the idea to people. I wanted to sell the idea that her head is flattened via lollipop. Same facial expression and everything to make the reader say, oh, this is the same. Like that's basically making a comparison. So yeah, so then she gets up from her seat and she's like, oh wait, don't forget, you know, she's talking about band meeting. Okay, looking out now, her friend's gone and she's bored. She's looking out the window. You get a little bit of an inner monologue on the bus seat, and she's talking about getting out of here, hitting the big time, and you can imagine that since Amy just mentioned the band, talking about playing in her band. And then she further confirms this once the bus arrives, become a world famous drummer and even more famous metal band, and never come back to this crappy house ever again. So this first half gives you the idea that, oh, this house looks pretty bad. I hope the bus is passing this neighborhood. But no, this is where she lives. And as you can see, the trailer is kind of beat up and rusty. The yard is very unkempt, tall grass. And the blinds are uneven. The front door is boarded up. Which just everything about this house is like, this is probably not a great place to live. And this is where V lives, where she lives. So yeah, so moving from here, I'm also really proud of this background. Like, I feel like my backgrounds in this have improved significantly since Monaco, which was my first project, if you're wondering. It's one of the books that keeps changing on the side of the screen, the covers for it. But but yeah, so I feel like my backgrounds have come a long way from that. And this is just a little bit of me explaining everything I did. Now, then you've got V. She's going to the fence. which you see, I'm trying to add some continuity into movement. So you see this fence over here. Since she can't go in over here, she's going to have to go to the fence. So she goes to that. She's going to open up the fence. As she's walking through to the backyard, steps in, boop! So you got a little squish, and she's angry once again, face exaggerations. She's screaming, "Cutie!" And it's revealed that Cutie is this little dog. Fun fact, I had a dog named Cutie, and she was a Boston team. So this is sort of me putting her in. She's like, she's mad at her for pooping on the path. Once again, exaggeration, the hand extending and like pointing. I'm sure some people might look at this and say, oh, does she have stretchy powers? But no, I think they'll figure that out for themselves. I don't think I have to put a disclaimer. She does not actually have stretchy powers. I feel like that would ruin the joke. I just have that here for exaggeration. And then, got her pointing at Cutie, and then Cutie just sitting here on a pink background of it. And big bubbly text. Like, dang it, I can't stay mad at you. She's rubbing her head. And once again, shots where there's no text, just shots showing movement. She's walking up the steps and reaching for the door handle. And also, by the way, I know there is an error here. I'm going to fix this. She does not have long jeans. She has jorts. So I need to fix that. I need to make that just her normal skin color leg. Keep the sock there. That's something I noticed today, but I just didn't get around to fixing it for the stream. So then we got this one, which I finished this morning. This is B walking through the back door now. She's in the house. There's some dishes, Look at the arms. That looks a little strange. That, if I'm doing shading, it's usually hard shading. So soft shading, that's a little bit different. What's going on here? Why is this going on? And then the next frame, it shows you that this is Miss Steele. This is the woman from the prologue. Now, 16 years later, and this is B's mom. And you get a little bit of dialogue here, and I had to be careful about which dialogue I throw in here and which dialogue I don't. What is important to the character. And one of the quirks of Miss Steele's character is that she knows English, but she doesn't quite 100% have it. So sometimes she says the wrong word. So she says, why no use the front door instead of why not, and V corrects her and says that the door hasn't worked in 2 years. Steele apologizes and saying that, Eduardo, which is father, is very busy. It is on his how to say to-do list. And that's all that I've posted so far. And I'm going to post less pages now because, again, I'm going to print this. I don't want to put all the pages out there for everyone to see. There's going to be some things that I don't post, but I will show you this next one, which is half a page completed so far. Let me see. Half the page completed, which has reaching into the fridge for a little, what is it? A Go-Gurt? Is that it? Go-Gurt, where it's just like a tube of yogurt that you. I had a bunch of these growing up as a kid, so I was like, I had to throw this in here because I feel like this is the go-to after-school snack. It always was for me. Stuff is good. But anyway, and you see her complaining about her dad's to-do list keeps getting longer, and I did cut some dialogue from the novel here to make it a bit more streamlined, a bit less wordy, because I don't want to bombard people with text in this. And I'm trying to something else. I'm trying to be creative about how I'm throwing in the text on the screen, because in this frame, like the text bubble is going behind the sink, and including that into the environment, sort of, I think adds a bit more immersion to it. It makes it more creatively displayed, I think. And then also with this, it's in front of everything. It's going from this frame to invading this frame to having its own box down here, where the text is a little bit bigger. So I'm trying to plan ahead, you know, how I'm organizing page, how I'm planning out drawing it and organizing it to tell the story. That's something that I've never really had to do before, because with Demonico, it was a hybrid novel. It would, you know, I would have an image, and then I would have, you know, 3 paragraphs, and then I would have another artwork, and maybe I would have like 2 or 3 back to back every now and then, but that's rare. It's usually like, you know, 1 and 3 or 4 paragraphs. And while Demonico, I think, worked for that, it was sort of a you know, dipping my toe into the scene of comic writing. I'm glad I didn't decide to do that as a full comic. I would still be working on it today if that were the case, because I just do not have the time. With this, since I'm just doing the pilot, I know I definitely have the time to do. And you know, if it performs well as far as sales go, it will encourage me to finish it as a full comic. As difficult as that would be for me, I'm willing to do it, because if there's a demand, if people really, really want this, I would do it. Preferably I could get a publisher or just an independent artist to pick this up with me, and you know, talk about some kind of deals as far as money making for that. But as far as this first pilot, talking about money, this first pilot, my plan is to, every penny I make, help pay brother's cancer treatments. That's sort of the goal with the pilot. If I keep doing this independently, again, you know, if I do this myself, the entire series, if there's demand for it, then all of the profits will go to our brother's treatment. that is the goal for that. If that's the route I take, then this series will be another way to help my brother with that. So and I made a previous video about, you know, a GoFundMe for him. This came all of a sudden to us. We had no idea this was coming. Just no warning signs to it, and I appreciate everyone who did donate. I made a whole video about that though, so I won't dwell on that. But that is the goal with this. Now, having said all of this, let's go back to the Discord, and you know, talk about, you know, a plan of when stuff will come out. I'm looking to, at the rate I'm going, at the speed of production that I'm going with pages, I can knock out at least 2 pages per day, which is, for someone who has a full-time job and other life commitments as well, I feel like that's pretty good. I feel like that's a pretty decent way to go with what I'm trying to accomplish here. Pilot comic. So I feel like I can confidently say that the comic itself will be completed somewhere in 2 months. As far as the artwork goes for it, there may be some further editing that needs to be done for whatever reason. And I'm looking at 2 months, hopefully, to finish everything as far as my end on the comic creating process, art of it. For the printing and everything, that's a whole nother question. I'm still finalizing, you know, which routes I want to go down to. Who do I want to get this printed from? How do I want to print it? And, you know, how many copies? I'm definitely going to have to go off of, you know, a lot of what you guys are interested in. I'm going to have to look at, you know, the numbers as far as how many people are interested in this, how many people are supporting me on Kickstarter. And yes, I will be making a Kickstarter for this once I hit the halfway point with development, which is going to come sometime hopefully mid to late September. I'm going to hit the halfway mark with the comic, and I'm going to create a Kickstarter for the printing of this first comic. That will give me the money up front that I need to actually afford printing it and shipping and all that kind of stuff, like all that's involved with this, copywriting as well, everything to do with it, everything to do with making this first thing legit. All of that is going to hopefully covered by the Kickstarter. And I'll of course I'll let you know. You have the link tree is in the description. It's in the chat. You can click that and follow all my socials to get notified, or you can just join the Discord, which I'm showing you all this cool stuff right now. So that is the plan going forward. That's sort of a loose roadmap. Is somewhere in 2 months, or maybe slightly more, the actual comic will be finished. When it will get into your hands, I'm not sure. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to beat out Christmas. I'm trying to get everything out before Christmas because everyone's going to be spending their money on presents. I want to get this out before then to have the best chance at sales, and I'm hoping to do that maybe in October. You know what? It would be really sweet if I could get this out. It's impossible, but it would be really cool if I could get this out for my brother's birthday. But I don't think time is going to align with that. But that's fine. As long as I get it out before, late November, I'll feel pretty good about, potentially having a good amount of sales, and hopefully raising a good amount of money for my brother. So, with all that being said, that's pretty much it for the Little Miss Steel comic adaptation. I did update the comic adaptation post on Tapas for the novelization story, which again, you can keep reading this. I'm not going to take this down just because I'm making a comic. While this is following the same story, there are going to be things different, and the main thing that you're going to buy a comic for is the visuals. So yeah, you can read the story and you can finish it before the potential full comic comes out, right? But you're gonna want to buy the comic for visuals. That's just the main point of it. So I did update this though, where you can see it. Here's some teasers for it where I showed the same image I just showed you, and advertise it, of course. So with that being said, that's pretty much it for this video. I hope you guys are getting excited for this comic adaptation of what I think is my best story yet. As far as writing goes, I think it is my best story. I think it is solid as far as plot goes. The character writing, I feel really proud about, and just overall, it's been a very fun project to work on. I'm really proud of it. I feel like I feel like this captures the 2000s, Saturday morning cartoon feel more than anything else that I've done. Demonico was heavily inspired by it. Symbiotic was inspired by it. Yishu wasn't that inspired by it, but the style of it is the same style as all my stuff. But more than the visuals, I think the writing and the tone of the story just really matches a Cartoon Network or Nickelodeon style action cartoon. What I think is the best era of action cartoon, the 90s. So with all that being said, thanks so much for watching. If you want to support this project, you can do so on Ko-Fi. I also have Cash App. You can get all of that through the link in the description. And if you just want to support my brother directly in his battle against cancer, you can do so by donating to the GoFundMe in the description. We would all greatly appreciate it, and we greatly appreciate all who've already done your support and prayers are just I can't put into words how much it means. So thanks so much for watching this video. Subscribe and hit the bell to get notified of new videos, and comment what it is you are so excited about with indie comics. It doesn't have to be mine, it can be anyone's. Which indie comic are you most excited for and why? Until next time, peace out. Okay, so that is the second video. Now the next video I'm going to do, let me pull up the Rippaverse website. I'm just going to use this as the backdrop for this next video. This is going to be a review of Isom number 2. And I will get started with that in a little bit. I actually had to turn on the webcam for this. For at least the beginning anyway. I don't have the best lighting right now, but I feel like I kind of had to do this. What happens if I help a little bit? It does help a little bit. Let me see. Butterbean dead. She's stretching. Yeah, that helps a little bit, especially whenever I'm looking in this direction. Okay. Like I said, behind the scenes, you get a live look at the madness. So, yeah, I'm gonna be reviewing Isom. I already had Isom 1 back in the day. I had a review that recorded, but I just didn't like how it worked. I didn't like I just didn't like how the recording was. But this is brand new, Isom number 2. Talking about that and my thoughts on it and going forward, what the Rippaverse might be capable of doing. So, what's up, Bean? Hear you. Can see it. All right. Go ahead and get started. Hey, what's up, YouTube? This is EV Variety face cam, and this time I'm not crying. There's a previous video, you can check that out, figure out what I'm talking about there. But yeah, today I'm going to be doing, as the title suggests, a review of Isom number 2. Now, this is the second book in the Rippaverse debut series Isom, following the main character Isom. Could you imagine? I read the first one. I got it back last year when it first came out. I was really excited to hear about it, and this was the first time I had been genuinely excited about comics in a while. As far as reading goes, I'll admit I don't do a whole lot of reading of comics as far as traditional stuff. I do check out webcomics. There's quite a few I follow on Webtoon and Tapas, such as Division 5. I really like that. That's a recent one that I've gotten into. Good. Fortunately, it's on hiatus, but this though got me really excited for physical, because this is a brand new, just independent company that's doing it. I think that's basically what I'm inspired, what I'm aspiring to do, but that's what I'm trying to do here. So I'm trying to do my own thing, and I'm trying to make it not just for fun. I'm trying to also make it, financially successful. Because, if I could do art and storytelling for a living, I would much rather do that than my current job. Even though I do like my job, I would much rather be doing something where I'm being creative and getting paid. I think that's a lot more fun than working 9 to 5 or 8 to 5. Why the phrase 9 to 5 thing? Because you had to have a lunch break. Anyway, Isom number 2. To talk about this, I'm gonna briefly talk about Isom number 1's plot. The spoilers for the Isom series, if you're not into it, let me just give you a very brief thing. It's good. It's good. I like it. There are some things that, me personally, I would have rather something else happen, but for the most part, I really like these. These are really good so far, and I'm gonna briefly summarize Isom 1. You have been warned. Spoilers abound from here on out. So in Isom 1, basically, Avery, the main character, he's a retired superhero, and he's told about this girl that his sister knows that has, seemingly gone missing ever since she started hanging out around this club Merc. And Isom decides, you know what, this is a friend of the family. I'm gonna go check it out. I'm gonna go make sure that this girl is okay, just to just to see if she's okay. I'm not gonna do anything drastic. I'm just gonna. So he goes here, and Darren is the leader of it. Darren is a former, seemingly friend of Isom that has gone a different path in life, the crime boss path of life, and their egos sort of clash. Isom and Darren both will not take any disrespect at all, and will take everything personal. So they will not stop at trying to beat each other up. And so basically Darren is hands off. Darren is not going to try and fight Isom and Avery. Instead, Avery is going to beat up all of his goons that Darren sends at him. And one of his goons is this gigantic dude with inhuman strength. And this is where we get sort of introduced to the idea of an Except. An Except is their word for superhero in the Rippaverse. And Isom gets beat up, and along the way getting beat up, he gets picked up by this Yaira character who is being hunted down by Alpha Core, and he gets dropped from the sky onto a car. He passes out, wakes up in the hospital, but he's totally fine. His sister picks him up, and they have a little bit of a discussion about why it's important to find this Jasmine girl who's missing. So Isom basically, out of anger for being disrespected, he goes back to Club Merc and beats up the guy who beat him up previous. Big dude, I can't remember what his name is off the top of my head. He beats him up, and as far as the story goes, after that, Darren gives a little bit of a villainous monologue, which is very cool, and Avery goes to pick up his suit, his Isom suit, basically saying that he's getting back into being a hero, if not for just a short amount of time, just to stop what Darren is doing. Meanwhile, while all this is going on, you had a scene where Avery's friend at his ranch, because Avery owns a ranch and runs that. It's his business that he does now that he's not a superhero. His friend, his kind of second in command, gets ambushed inside of the security building, which you would think of all places to be safe, the security building would be safe, but wrong. The artwork in this is really good. It just looks solid. I'm not gonna try and spoil anything, but I'll just show you this scene real quick, this page. I'm not gonna try and get DMCA'd or anything, showing too much of it, but the artwork is very good from what little you can tell from this webcam quality and a tiny box on the screen. The quality is very good. I think the art is a strong point for this series. I think it is very good. A few minor errors here and there, of course, like every comic has minor errors here and there. But nothing that will take you out of the it's solid for a first comic in a series, especially since Eric July, which is the writer of the series, Isom, he's never really written anything before, and for this to be the debut thing, it's pretty solid. I mean, it's pretty freaking good. I'm comparing this to my own stuff. Like, I think the artwork definitely helps it out. I think this is better than like my first draft of Monaco for sure. I did go back and remaster DeMonico and make things a little bit better. So comparing it to the existing DeMonico 1 to Isom 1 is not really fair, I guess, but I would definitely say like this is a better start for a series. As far as a universe goes, I think this is pretty good, because what this is doing is it's not just kicking off Isom's story, it's kicking off the Rippaverse, and that includes Yaira and the Alpha Core. The only negative about this is that those two, sets of characters, you've got Yaira and the Alpha Core, they don't have anything to do with the main plot. They're just there, then they just sort of disappear. And at the end of Isom 1, there's also the mention of a group of characters that seem to be going by the name of Norfolka, or the series that may come out in the future being called Norfolka. And they don't have anything to do with the main plot either. So that's part of the drawback of attempting to start a universe with one series and trying to focus on one character is that the other characters that you're introducing might not have a whole lot to do with the main plot, and you can do things to make it flow a little bit better. Uh, but overall, it's going to be more difficult to do that in this kind of a setting. Me personally, I prefer to go the Iron Man route and just start off with a very solid series. Like the first Iron Man movie uh, started the MCU, but it told a complete story of Iron Man. More importantly, and because this movie exists, it had the rest of the movies had an establishing universe to set themselves in. So Captain America was in the same universe as Iron Man, but Captain America told its own story. Thor was set in the same universe as those two movies, but it told its own story. And then you had Iron Man 2, which sort of added a bit more characters to the mix and started making it feel more connected. And then you had Avengers, which tied everything together into this gigantic cinematic historical moment. I'll call it, and I prefer it to go that way. I prefer it to focus more on the characters in a tight knit story that exists in the same universe that eventually come together. I would rather do that than throw a whole bunch of stuff at once, like a launch pad. But that's the route that Eric July and the Riververse have decided to go with Isom, and that's exactly what they continue to do with Isom #2. Now again, I would have preferred that this book focused more on the conflict of Avery and Darren, trying to focus on their dynamic as protagonist antagonist sort of thing. But this goes a very different direction, and I think overall, I think it's to the book's uh, negative. I think it's more of a negative than a positive that it focuses more on world building and universe setup. Um, but at the same time, the story is not bad. I can't say this is a bad comic because it doesn't do what I want it to do. It tells a decent story. I just think it could have been a better story. It by no means is it bad though. So it starts off in high gear. Avery, Isom's sister, ends up getting punched in the face by Darren. Again, spoilers. Um, and that is a really strong way to start off a second uh, episode, a second issue in the series. And he ends up getting kicked out and also punched in the face by or punched in the gut. Is it face or gut? Face or gut? Which one is it? This guy, Lincoln, from the Projexis. He's the Projexis founder. Yeah, he punches him in the gut. And kicks him out of there. So Darren is humiliated, which, if you know anything about Darren and also Avery, is that if you humiliate them, they will come for you. And that's kind of what happens here later on. This Lincoln guy, the founder of the company Projexis, which Avery's sister works at, is a higher up at. He ends up getting an assassination attempt made on him. Apparently escapes. So it appears to be that he escapes. Um, so it's I think that's very consistent with Darren's character. He's not acting out of character here. Fully the same character was in the first issue. Now immediately after this, we get the scene that explains why Avery quit being Isom in the first place and just went back to normal life. Um, I think the idea of starting a comic book universe on a superhero that quit is very interesting. I really like that idea. That's very different. Starting out the series on a hero who's already failed is very different. I like that approach, and in this issue we get to figure out why he quit. Um, and it's focusing on this like it seems like an unstoppable monster that even when Isom punches him, it hurts his hand. Like this guy has super strength, and it's hurting him to punch this. And it's a very interesting, like very alien, while still looking human design. I'll show you a page here of the character. That is him. He's also on the cover, looking very intimidating. I also like how this cover looks like a sort of classic nostalgic cover. Find out why did Isom quit, featuring the first appearances of, and that kind of stuff. I like that a lot. So basically, I saw him quit being a hero because he couldn't save a girl. She freaking died. And it's that seems to be the reason why he quit in the first, because he could not. And the guy who's giving him his outfit says, "No more quitting." And Isom agrees. Avery agrees, like he's not going to quit this time. Which is very cool. That's a very good way of reintroducing the character. You know, this is a character who failed, and now he is looking at. I think he's looking at Jasmine, this girl who's sort of trapped. And he does meet Jasmine in the first issue. I forgot to mention that. I think he's viewing Jasmine as the same girl, kind of the one that he failed to save. He's refusing to let this happen again, and he's no longer going quitting. So he goes back to his ranch while his new costume is getting ready. And he goes to the security shack, and there's two goat demon humanoid things in there waiting for him. And they land a pretty big hit on him. They explode into fire, which sets the entire building on fire. Now I saw this and I was just sort of confused, not in like a way that this doesn't make sense, but confused as in, why are we going in this direction? Why are we setting up a new antagonist for Isom to fight when we already have Darren? We have Darren being the main antagonist here. That conflict was so interesting to focus on, and since this is a 3-part arc, I thought the 3-part story would be focusing on this character, but instead, it's taking a new shift to a new threat. And again, for a series that is trying to start a comic book universe, this makes sense. Me personally, that's just my personal take. I like more confined storytelling. I'm not gonna spoil anything, but Little Miss Steele, you can read the novelization of it on Tapas. Focuses a lot on the character of Little Miss Steele as she is fighting and attempting to get better at fighting Death Metal, this suit of armor character that is it has a suit custom made that can beat her essentially, and she's trying to get better at being a hero, being a fighter, and fighting these other threats along the way. But it's this massive threat like this. It's not an interdimensional sort of otherworldly creature that she's fighting. It's more so self-contained. Like a lot of the threats are just, you know, villains on the street sort of thing. Which is more, I think, a more contained story for what I'm trying to tell with Little Miss Steele. So maybe it's just because that's my personal preference that I was a bit disappointed by this. But at the same time, the threat of these fiery goat demon people is pretty obviously intense. You know, they actually pose a severe threat against him. But he lives it okay. It's just a scratch basically to him, able to walk it off with the help of another character being introduced, being Gooding, which is this tech specialist sort of. I don't really know if he's a superhero necessarily, but he's a guy who's, you know, steps in to save. You know, he puts out fires, he saves people from burning buildings, he gives people medical attention with whatever technology he has, and he even does security stuff. So, like, he's sort of a hero for hire type of guy, and I love that he has his own ad. He has an ad page in here as well, um, which I think that's pretty good for his character. I think that's a great way of establishing how this guy is personality wise, what he does. Um, but in between him, you know, saving the building or trying to save the building that's on fire and tending to Avery's wounds, we get a scene with the Alpha Core, talking about Yaira. This goes nowhere. This has nothing to do with the main plot, and it's even worse this time around because there's no reason to talk about Yaira or the Alpha Core in this issue. Whereas before, Isom at least crossed paths with them, um, because of his fight with Darren's, Club Mercs goons. Uh, there's no crossing of paths here at all. There's no mention of anything other than Yaira. It really just feels very out of place in this. It has just nothing to do with it. It's sort of like the Norfolka mention at the end of Isom 1. I can forgive that though because it's at the end of the series, not in the middle of it. If this was in the end, like a post credits scene sort of thing, I think it would work a whole lot better. As it is, it interrupts the flow of the story on something completely unrelated. And maybe in Isom 3 we'll find out maybe it is related, right? Maybe this stuff does come together in the end. But I feel like there's just a better way of doing that. I feel like there's a more fluid way of showing this information to us. And it's not even that it's an interesting scene either. I felt kind of a little bit bored, admittedly, looking at the scene from the Alpha Core. I think they're interesting characters, but what we're shown in this scene that breaks up the flow of the plot doesn't, in my opinion, justify having it here. I would much rather this book be made with those pages just out of the book. I feel like that would be a better product all around if that was just not there. Or at least at the end as a post credit scene. I say that because it's the best way I can describe it. But anyway, so the ranch is fine, but the building is gone. Basically, it's unsalvageable. We get a scene where Isom is rest and gets a call from his sister saying that Darren punched her, and he's like, "I'm gonna kill him." And so we get another scene with Darren. He's talking to the big guy. Um, what's his name here? Yeah, I don't see his name. I don't see his name. I apologize. But the big guy comes back and he's basically saying like, "Hey, I paid you to kill this guy. You didn't do it." He's like, "Man, whatever, man." And it's sort of a scene showing that Darren is still trying to get him killed and sort of also leading this. It seems to be that he's planning this assassination on Lincoln, president of the Projexis company. Um, then we get a random wrestling reference that I don't get because I'm not a huge wrestling fan. I know who Rhea Ripley is, but I know Triple H and stuff like that. Hulk Hogan, John Cena, Wayne Rock Johnson. I know the names, but I just don't know the references. I don't know the lore. So that's in here. The leader of Projexis, the president of it, he's watching that before he gets in the car and is attempted to, be killed here. And he ends up getting out. He crashes the car intentionally and sort of flies through the windshield and presumably survives. Maybe a little bit banged up, but he survives. Then we cut to Isom getting ready to head out and take revenge against Darren for punching his sister. When all of a sudden, the wife of his friend, his right hand man at the ranch, shows up and wants to know where her husband is and why he's gone missing. Gooding's robot appears and takes them both to his base of operations, which is where they discuss, what could have happened, what those creatures were, the goat demons that attacked Isom. And there's talks about, some sort of war between creatures, between like, uh, non-human races and stuff like that. And there's mention of, a different um, hellish dimension that these creatures may have come from. And Gooding is not the guy who's best made to deal with the situation, so he recommends Isom go to his friend Blood Ruth. At this time, Isom gets his costume. He does a bit of resting and working out and training for this next mission. His first mission in the costume since putting it back on. And so he drives off to Blood Ruth she's at and um ends up finding her place. He's attacked by her creatures, and from there, it's getting to know Blood Ruth. Now, Blood Ruth is interesting. I like her powers. Her powers using blood is pretty unique. And the creature she has under her control is pretty cool too. I like a character that has very different powers compared to the main character, and especially in this case because there's multifacets to her powers. It's not just the fact that she can control blood and do pretty interesting things with that, such as make platforms and kind of make things explode. It seems like there's also the fact that she just tames creatures like a dragon. That just makes her that much cooler, right? Um, her outfit is pretty cool as well. She's got this sort of trench coat and hat thing going on, which looks really but and she lives in a freaking castle in the middle of nowhere, which the 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 setting from being a busy city changed very quickly in this series. Not just the city setting. There's now a castle in the middle of nowhere, and there's a hell that they're going into. So she's talking about the creatures and sort of going along. He's got her convinced to go check it out with him and find the creatures. They track them down, find them, and Isom immediately starts fighting and beating them up. They go into this cave where they're all sort of hiding out, and from there, I mean, we get some really good action. I'm kind of glossing over it in the summary because I'm summarizing the story and giving my points about why I like it and why I don't like it. The action is really good here. I really like this sequence of fighting here. It shows off both of their powers very well. Isom still sort of a mystery what all he can do. Right, it just seems that he's very durable and very strong. And there's something at the end of the fight that seems to suggest that he can release a burst of energy potentially. Again, I'm still not 100% clear on what he does, which is fine. I think that's part of the mystery that Eric July is going for in the writing here is to sort of make Isom's power a mystery that you solve by reading the series as it goes along. Um, but yeah, with that, they go deeper into the cave, and blood sort of split up. Isom uh, Isom fends off the hordes of goat demons, while Bloodruth frees his friend. And there's a few other people there too. It's not just his friend. I think his name's Sam. Yeah, Sam. It's not just Sam that's there. There's bodies of other people who didn't make it. And what is interesting that's shown at this point is that Sam has some scars on his back that appear to be deliberate, not just random, just scratch marks, but they seem to be some sort of symbols. And that doesn't come into play in this book, but I'm sure it will. Most likely in Isom 3, I think it will be mentioned. And I think that might be some sort of mind control or maybe a transformation into the goat creatures. Perhaps that's something in store for Sam. The poor guy did not ask for this at all. It just sort of happened, and I think that is I don't know. I think that's interesting. That's uh, going to be cool going forward. We see more of Bloodruth using her powers. The ability to use other people's blood in her magic is really cool, or at least I think it's magic. She's like a very magical character. But either way, they jump onto this blood platform for a split second and cushion their fall as they jump. Um, and every step of this is also drawn as well. Like I probably would not have drawn as much, but that's just me personally. Like the detail here in showing the movement is very well done. Like I'm able to see each step of their action. And speaking of action, Isom is continually punching punching these goat demons apart. And at some point, as they all um are piling on top of him and holding him down, he is. It seems like he's causing some burst of energy that allows him to break away and leap off, like leap at a great height. So I think he has some sort of energy burst ability. Um, but yeah, so he ends up getting free, and they all presumably escape. Uh, with that being said, there's a last few pages here that says, um, uh, next thing is ISOM number 3, the conclusion of the ill-advised arc. And there's a little teaser about the king of the goat demons, who says that Isom must be eliminated, or presumably Isom is talking about. So we also get a teaser for the next books that are coming out: the Alpha Core number 1 book and the Yaira number 1. So that is the end of Isom number 2. Overall, what I think of the story, I think the story of Isom's past was very compelling. I think the inclusion of that in book 2, I think, is better than including it in book 1. Book 1, I feel like it would have been a little bit forced, but um, having in book 2 allows us to discover more about Isom at a more slow, regular pace, as opposed to just dumping information onto it. So ISO number 1 showed the character and personality and hint of a past heroic career for the character. ISOM 2 delivers on that information by giving us more info about what exactly happened that caused him to retire in the first place. This also shows off his abilities a bit more. It shows that he's very durable. He seems to have some sort of energy burst, or very powerful lunge towards the end that he's able to, fight a bunch of goat demons at once. This guy is very tough. This guy actually can do quite a bit of fighting. He can't fly, but he's pretty durable. One thing I think that could have been a little bit better with this, I think, is that if it focused on, let's say this story focused on Darren, because yes, Darren is in this for 2 different scenes. You see him sort of scheming his next retaliation against people who disrespect him. And it just seems that he is not important in this episode. Avery is far more focused on the demon threat than he is about Darren. At least halfway through, it shifts focus to the creatures. He very easily sort of moves on from from Darren to these creatures, and it's because his friend is in danger, and that's totally understandable. But I say, why not save the friend going missing plot for Isom 3? Why not focus, since you're introducing why Isom quit, being this creature called Chadron, why not have him be the main antagonist? Or at least the obstacle in his way in this issue, right? Let's say that Darren does some research on Avery and digs up some dirt and finds out that he was Isom. His abilities match what Isom did in the past. His appearance is the same. He doesn't wear a mask or anything, so likely he could recognize him. So let's say Darren digs him up and finds this out and says, "Oh, he retired after this creature, this gray creature with black dreadlocks. He seems to just kill this girl, and that caused Isom to quit. Let me hire this Chadron guy to kill Isom." And I say this because from the animated trailer, that's what it looked like this was going to be. The animated trailer depicted Isom versus Chadron, and that's what I was expecting this issue to be about. Now, there may have been a different direction that this issue may have been going on earlier. I'm not sure. And maybe by the time that the animation had already begun, maybe Isom 2 made a different approach as far as the story it was telling. Maybe something like that happened. I don't know. Or maybe the animated trailers have nothing to do with the actual plot of what's going on. It's just using the characters to have this sort of animation to get people hyped about the Ripperverse. And that's totally fine. But when I was looking at that trailer, I thought that's what I was getting. I thought that this was going to introduce Chadron as the reason Isom quit, and then it's going to bring him back to challenge him as he's getting back into being a hero. I think that would be very interesting. And I feel like it's definitely going to happen in the future that Chadron will return and fight Isom. But I mean, also just look at the cover of the book, right? This takes place outside in this sort of like, alleyway, it sort of looks like. And again, this hints to me that there's going to be a rematch in this book. And I was really wanting to see that. And it just did not happen. It didn't happen that way. And I think I'm not gonna call it false advertising because it's not. Um in no way is it saying that this is going to be a rematch. It's just saying why did Isom quit? And it delivers on what it is advertising. But in a way, I'm not gonna say it's misleading. I read into it too much. I judged the book by its cover. Um, and I feel like that would have been a more interesting story to me. I feel like having Isom immediately challenged by the creature that made him quit before, and the fact that the creature is standing in the way between him reaching this Jasmine girl is essentially the same situation he was in before. I think that would have been more interesting, in my opinion, to see Isom go through. I think if you really wanted to, you could make the fight um not even be concluded in this issue. That could be a great cliffhanger, is to have the Chadron fight end in issue 3, and it might seem like Isom is losing, and all of a sudden in issue 3, maybe we see a new ability from him that he's been hiding so far. I think there was a lot of potential in that story. That's what I was thinking this was going to be. But that's ultimately not the direction that Eric July decided to go with this. Instead, he wanted to build the world and flesh out the Ripperverse as a whole instead of the story of Isom. Um, it does, of course, focus on the main character. He is present most of the time. But it does tend to bounce around a little bit. It does tend to focus on other things that Isom does not directly have a hand in. He doesn't have anything to do with the president of Projexis. He doesn't have anything to do with the Alpha Core or even Yaira, really. He just happens to run into her. And again, maybe this all gets tied together in the future, but as it is, with a series that only has 2 comics, I'm left sort of just unsatisfied, I guess, with the inclusion of the Alpha Core, because they're not important to Isom's plot, which is the name of the comic. Isom. It's about him. So I feel like everything should be focusing either around him or characters that will immediately impact him. That's just my opinion. And I feel like that is a flaw with this. I feel like that is actually a flaw with this, not just a personal thing. I would say that it is a flaw. Is it such a bad thing that I hate it? No, of course not. I still think this is a good story. I think so far this is interesting. It fleshes out the universe, and the goal is clearly the goal. The intent is to start up a universe, and I think this does that pretty well. I think this establishes that there's not just the sort of brute fighting style of superheroes, but there's also other creatures. There's non-human creatures in this as well. There's other races, stuff like that. There's different types of powers. You got this sort of magical power that Bloodruth uses. There's technology that Gooding uses. And there's just like enhanced abilities biologically that Isom has that are called the Excepts. So I don't know. I think the series is good. I would still recommend it. Like, I would highly recommend it to anyone who wants to get into like a new comic book series that has genuine passion into it. These two have been fun to read for me. They've been fun. I know the images. These have been fun to read for me. I've really enjoyed it. But at the end of the day, my type of storytelling is more close knit and focused than this is. If this comic was called the Ripperverse, I feel like it would be a lot better. And I've said this about the Mandalorian in season 2. It sort of served as a launch pad for other series. I mean, we had Boba Fett, we had Ahsoka, and those two have both gotten series since the Mandalorian season 2. Two varying and it also brought in Bo-Katan, which was huge in season 3. So it just feels like that season was a launch pad for a whole lot of other projects, and that has obviously come to be. And I feel like Isom is trying to go that route. Is trying to be a launch pad for other things. I just wish it was focused more on the actual character of Isom and his more personal relationships as to, you know, the antagonist role of Darren, rather than the monsters. That's just my opinion. But overall, the quality of it is fantastic. I've really enjoyed it. I think it was great, and I'd highly recommend it. So, with all that being said, those are my thoughts on Isom 2. Thanks so much for watching. If you want more videos on this channel in the future, make sure you subscribe and hit the bell to get notified when I post new videos. If you've read Isom, please comment down below what your favorite character is in the Ripperverse so far. And if you haven't read it, comment what your favorite indie comic is. Whether it's by Joe Schmo or Mary Jane, unintended Spider-Man reference. Just comment down. just leave any comment, please. And until next time, peace out. Okay, so that is the end of that, and that's pretty much all I wanted to do for this stream. I knocked out 3 videos, even for about an hour and a half almost. So feel like that satisfies what I wanted to do. Just real quick, if you are feeling generous, please donate to my brother's cancer treatment fundraiser on GoFundMe. I greatly appreciate that. I'll go ahead and share the link here. That is the wrong one. Yep, there we go. There's the GoFundMe link. There's also the link tree as well. I'll post that again. You can check out all my socials, and you can get updates as far as you know, future information we find out with my brother. I'll be posting that to Instagram, maybe Twitter as well. But yeah, I'll try and keep everyone informed. Since everyone has been kind enough to donate, I'm sure everyone would love to hear you know, the progress of how we're going with this. So yeah, and then the Discord, join that to get more, you know, updates about Little Miss Steel, whether it's the characters. You can check out the introduction talking about, you know, the series as a whole, what my plans are for it. And you can also look at the comic pages, the artwork going forward. You can check that out. So yeah, with all that being said, much for watching this stream, and thanks for donating again, and subscribe, get notified when I go live next. Until next time, peace out.